Now, configuring log shipping is not too hard at all. And I want to step you through the process. And this is one of those things that you'll have to kind of bang on the side of it just a little bit when you actually try to install it in the real world to get it working. But I'll step you through the general steps here. Notice to set up log shipping, I have to do this on a database by database process. Okay, so if I want to do log shipping on Sales, Mark, and Bob, I'm going to have to do this process 3 separate times. Notice on the sales database, if I right click, go to properties, what happens is I'm going to click on transaction log shipping. Now, the thing I'm going to have to do is set up the primary and the secondary server. So the first thing I'll do is enable this as a primary database in a log shipping configuration. Now, the first thing I got to do is tell it my backup settings. I need to tell it where is the network path for the backup folder. Because what's going to happen is a backup job is going to run by default every 15 minutes, and it's going to drop these transaction log backups in this shared folder. Then my secondary server can grab them from there and restore them. So notice I need a network path to a backup folder. This needs to be a shared folder. Now if you'll notice, I'll go out here to Explore. On drive H, I have put a shared folder out here called log ship. Okay, so that's shared out there. And so I will simply say, I will point a UNC path to that shared folder. Notice if the backup folder is located on the primary server, I can type the path to it. All right, and they're mentioning here you're going to have permissions. You may have to bang on that a little bit. Now there is something that's going to happen. You're going to be every 15 minutes by default copying or doing transaction log backups to this location. You're going to build up quite a bit of files out there. Notice we can delete files older than, and I can back this down to say 36 hours. And I can create an alert if no backup occurs within 1 hour. Okay, then on my backup job, notice I can schedule how often this goes. Now notice that by default, it's building a job for me. It's going to occur every 15 minutes. Well, if that's too soon, I can take this up. Notice I can set it for hours, or I can put it on minutes and take it all the way down to 1. So I can do log shipping every minute. Okay, that's probably too often, but you see where I'm going here. You got lots of opportunities. So I say OK, that has set that up. Now I say OK here, and I'm done. Okay, that's my primary database. I've set it up to ship the logs to that shared location. Now I need to add my secondary. So I click Add here. Let me cancel this. Notice I'm under Secondary Server Instances. I click Add, and notice I need to connect to my secondary server. Well, now here in my situation, I've set up log shipping on the Leesburg Mark instance, and now I'm just going to point to my default instance, Leesburg, and I connect to it. Secondary database there will be sales. Now I've got to initialize that. You remember I told you in our previous video that you had to copy the database over there, and notice it will do it. This will generate a full backup of the primary database and restore it into the secondary database, and even create it if it doesn't exist. And there's some restore options. Now I can specify a local path to a folder on the secondary server, or I can use the default folder. I'll take the default. Notice I can restore an existing backup if I have one, and I can point to it. Okay, and I can tell it, no, I've already initialized it. I've already manually moved a copy over there, so I'll just leave this way. If I take the restore options, and let's just say that for now, I say that, well, I'll leave it like this. We'll generate a backup. Now, copy files. For the files to be copied to a destination folder, the destination folder for copied files, this is usually on the secondary server, and I would have to put one out here. And to make it easy right now, I will do the log ship right now. And notice I can schedule this every 15 minutes. And then on the restore transaction log, files are restored from the destination folder by a SQL Server agent job running on the secondary server instance. And the database state when I'm restoring my backups, I can say no recovery mode if I'm not going to use this as a read-only server, or standby mode if I am going to use it as a read-only server. Okay, and notice I can delay restoring my backups if I would like, and I can do an alert here. So notice with this now, I've now set up my secondary server instance in databases. And if I say OK, notice I'm backing up my primary database to sales. And we'll see if we get a success on all this. It can be tricky working on the same default and instance server. Okay, we got it all. So now we've set up log shipping. Now, you'll have to tweak this and see if it behaves the way you wanted it to, but it's just that easy. If I don't have any problems now, I am now automatically restoring my transaction logs to my secondary server. And so I've got a standby server out there just waiting for me to jump on it, change the name, and be ready to go. So that's how you set up log shipping, and that's a really cool process.